podcast now with like a Jeff Probstism. Like I was thinking, day 22, 9 castaways, 3 co-hosts, 1 podcast. We're joined by Danny and Val.
That was beautiful, Poody.
Yeah. I know. Trying something different. We'll see.
Trying something different in the middle of the season. I love it.
Yeah.
Got to keep it fresh.
Yeah, so we're on day 22. There are 9 people left. We have to recap the merge, though, because the last time we had a podcast, they had just merged, and that was a week ago. So we have some catching up to do.
On that last one, did you guys talk about the soft merge and kind of the outcome of that?
Yes, I'm pretty sure we did it after. Well, let's just go over that again, just in case. So we did a soft merge where like we merged at the beginning of the round, but then we had tribal immunity challenge. And one tribe in entirety won immunity for all the members on the tribe. But then everyone in the game went to tribal council. So Atlasova won immunity. So Susie, not Aurora, Susie.
Yes, Aurora.
No, Aurora was out by then, right?
No,
oh, yeah.
She was in it.
Oh, gosh, see, I got to pull up my notes.
Susie, Aurora, Devins, Randy, Chris, and Eric would have been the ones who were safe.
Thank you. So that left all of Taraku vulnerable, and fortunately for us, they had an easy boot because Marcus hadn't shown up in a couple of days. And I was starting to get to like Marcus, but of the options, I'm glad it was him.
Well, and from what I understand too, I think he was going into like midterm something in school and had told some people that his activity level was going to be spotty for the next couple days. And I just think putting him there on a night where he didn't show up was like the perfect outcome for us.
Right. I mean, really, when we do, every time I do this twist right before merge, it has worked out for us. And that's my food if you hear some insanity in the background.
Way to go, Otto.
Every time we do like these pre-merge twists where we have someone in like an impromptu council that goes, it usually ends up beneficial for us because more often than not, people just go with like the easy boot and decide to kick out the least active or the least connected. So that's why we've done it so many times in recent seasons. And yet again, I think it worked in our favor.
I really think it's fairly appropriate though, like that it worked out that he was the last person. And from a fake merge, he gets booted just like the real Marcus, actually.
Right.
I mean, it's not exactly the same, but I like when the game parallels to the person playing like that.
Right. So just looking at some overall notes, we had finally the women got back together with everyone, including Randy, who had voted with Susie on Atlasova. But also we had the birth of the Mommy Alliance, which was Jillian, Reem, Michelle, and Charlie has joined that alliance. And as we'll find out in later rounds, that's going to become a very important alliance in this merge.
No, I would say of all the alliances that have formed since the merge, that one's the most entertaining to me, just because, Jillian is a train wreck. Reem is insane. Michelle is just a snarky bitch. And then Charlie, for, as spotty as his activity is and how little he seems to be doing, he at least is like fun for a good soundbite every now and then. So they've been the most entertaining ones to watch from my end.
Yeah, I'm going to get y'all's opinion on this after we review all these rounds, but I think where I am right now, I think Charlie stands the best chance to win.
He, I think, is what Danni could have been if, like, Sebastian wasn't sitting in the final 3 with them. Like, just likable.
Yeah, that's fair.
Has been working with everybody. Everybody fills him in on all the plans. They don't want him left out. They don't want him specifically mad at them. And I think with this setup at Merge, there's enough people who are unlikable or just straight up, like, goats like Jillian, that I think he does stand a good chance as long as he's sitting next to the right people at the end.
But Ron seems to think he's a goat, though. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like he does draw a strong parallel to Danni. I do think he's a little bit better of a player than Danni was, just strategically. I think Danni was more happy to go along and let other people lead, whereas I think Charlie
actively inserts himself into the strategy. He makes sure that he always knows what's going on.
Right. And he'll kind of steer Boots away from people he doesn't want to go, namely Chris. I think he's a big reason as to why Chris is still in the game. And so I think that's going to do well for him in the final, even if he goes up against, let's say, Reem, who I think would be very hard to beat. But I do think she's unlikable in a lot of ways. And I think if she pisses off the wrong jurors, like she's already pissed off Aurora, she could piss off, I'm sure Maddie's not too thrilled that she cut him. I could really see Charlie making a pretty good case against even some of the bigger characters this season.
Just being the palatable alternative.
Exactly. And especially like if the jury's mostly men.
Oh yeah.
Or, I think that will play into it too. That's where I am with Charlie. I think he's one to watch though in this late game.
Yeah. Can we talk about that first merge vote though?
Oh yeah.
That one, the Sunday night, they come back for the merge. The MILF Alliance plus Charlie has formed. Eric starts pushing the men strong again, but that was the one where all of the women decided they wanted to vote out Maddie the first time. And this is where Randy made his first play of the season.
Right. So the women all invite Randy into this group chat. And then Randy notices like, hey, I'm the only man here. And then, the women were all friendly with Maddie, but they didn't invite him into this group chat. And then they invited him after the fact and after Randy told him about the chat. So really, Maddie knew this group chat was started without him. And I think that really upset him going into it. And then Randy started to flip onto the men's tribe. So that really kind of started the ball rolling against the women's alliance.
I just feel like that is, I do appreciate Randy. And I know I've been saying some stuff, but I just find it so confusing when you set yourself up like that. Like you specifically knew what you were doing when you're going with the women. And it's like you don't have to flip because you're in a group of people that you realize were on the opposite side of you. You can do that eventually. And if you just keep making, inroads like you've been doing, you'll be fine. I don't understand why he decides to. I feel like he's very reactionary from what I see.
I think he is as well. I think he suffers from just like the same thing that a lot of people who are new to gaming suffer from, where as soon as they see a problem, they just instantly try and come up with a solution, and they don't think long term. They don't think, all right, like, is it best for my game now to flip, or should I wait until the women really feel like they have my trust, and then when it benefits me most, flip on them? And I think he just instantly was like, oh, these people are going to vote me out 7 rounds from now. I need to make a move. You know?
Especially when there are so many left. Like, and there's still fewer women than men. So it doesn't really, at any point, you can just decide,
right,
this is not working out for me. And then you can do it. But like right now, no, go with it and create these bonds that are going to pull you forward.
And I also have a problem. Randy's position and thinking in this merge have tanked him in my estimation as a player for several reasons. But the main offender is not that he flipped. I don't necessarily think that's a terrible move. I think the bad move was who he targeted when he flipped, because he had spent pre-merge building up these really close ties to Aurora and Susie. He was working with them. He had a good relationship with them. And then he had Devins as his kicker. But then, he abandons them and immediately votes off the 2 women that he had the strongest connection with. It makes absolutely no sense.
To be fair to Randy voted for Reem when Aurora went home. He was on the side that was trying to send Reem home and got blindsided by the fact that Reem stayed over Aurora.
I mean...
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah. But, okay, that one's fine. But, Susie was so close to him. But yeah, if you lose Aurora, who you're making close bonds with, the next idea isn't voting for Susie, with whom you got really close, and then Devins goes. He
lost his entire alliance from the swap
that he was so much into.
And then the next move after that, he blindsides the one person that he has left that he's been consistently trying to keep safe, and he votes that person out.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the Susie vote. This vote in particular was so crazy. I mean, I'm going to call this the merge vote since the other one was not. I mean, it was a rush decision and it was inactive. I'm just going to say that this vote is the merge vote. So flashback a little bit. This is before Michelle finds an idol, but Michelle, she finds the extra vote in this round, and then she's going to end up playing that in a very close vote between Reem and Aurora to save Reem. And this is also when we first see Lauren and Michelle kind of split up, where Reem really pulls Michelle in and distances her from Lauren.
That's been the most shocking thing for me from that swap Taraku tribe was Michelle and Lauren splitting up and Reem being able to reel in Michelle as one of her numbers.
Yeah, I mean, what do we think of the women? Because I don't know if it's necessarily bad that they get rid of Aurora here. It ends up working out in their favor anyway. I think, I don't know. It was odd that first merge vote was between Aurora and Reem. I had really hoped the women would take out at least some men. I don't hate the move, though, because, it's not necessarily a great look to be the majority alliance early in the merge, especially with like 8 people. So I don't hate them getting rid of Aurora here. I have a big problem with Susie's vote.
Yeah,
but we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
I don't so much blame the women for the Aurora versus Reem. That was just very good paranoia stirred up by Maddie. But like I said in the Discord before, I think it's a sign when somebody like Maddie can come on and just start sowing a bunch of seeds, and they all see it. They're like, I think Maddie's just trying to make us paranoid. But then by the time an hour passes and it's time for the challenge, Aurora and Reem are at each other's throats and have agreed to vote each other out. Like, there was some bad gameplay that led to them agreeing to those being the votes, in my opinion. I don't blame them for voting each other once those were the names that were out there.
Oh, no, there was total chaos. And I think a lot of that are these rogue agents like a Maddie, but also you have like Ron who will come on and just push for this vote. And he has absolutely no idea what the dynamics are. You have Eric and Devins who do the same. And I always wonder how I guess, someone comes on and suggests a name and people just jump on it. But it's kind of questionable why people just allow these rogue agents to control a vote like that. You'd kind of think that they would be giving them the directions. No, we're going to keep them and we're going to go with what I want to vote. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So, and we're going to see that pattern continue even still with Ron throwing out names and people kind of going along with it. But in particular, so Maddie plays a huge role in this early merge. He's pissed off about not being included in the women's inner circle. So he defects to the men and really sets the men up well by pushing the vote on Reem and Aurora. And fortunately for Reem, Michelle has the extra vote. She doesn't end up needing it, but it was very close. So in a sense, she did. So Aurora goes home. I think it was 8-7.
8-6.
8-6.
Because there's the extra vote. Yeah,
that's right. Just a funny quote from Reem here. It says, he was supposedly hurt that we were going to vote him, and then I didn't tell him. I can't relate. I don't do well with titty babies, in reference to Maddie. God, these women with these sound bites are killing it this season. Like, there's so many. It would take an entire podcast just to read through them all.
That was so good.
But it's so good. I think, just to pause a minute, we'll get into this, but I really think this is the best newbie season we've had in a very long time. And maybe like one of our best seasons ever. I'd say definitely top 10 at this stage. It depends on how it finishes, but
it has been delivering.
Yeah, even if it finishes horribly and it's really boring for the last couple boots, it's kind of delivered already. And I don't see that happening with all the crazy people we have left. So that was the first merge boot. We have Aurora going home. The next vote was probably the saddest we've had in a very long time. Everybody was standing Susie, and she just got better and better. And then this round happens. And really, a lot of this I blame on Randy. I'm not sure why Randy pushed for Susie's vote out, but he was a big part of it. I know Chris was also pushing for Susie as a big threat. And sure, Susie's a threat and everything, but I really think it's not smart for Randy to get rid of Susie here, especially because she trusts him still. And she was kind of his only inroads into the women. So, once those numbers start dwindling and you need votes, it would have been very helpful to have a good relationship with one of the women to be like, hey, can you pull in anyone into the numbers?
Yeah, he did kind of cut himself off from that entire group. But I believe what his excuse was I saw how fast she turned on Aurora. I don't want her to do that to me, even though he and Maddie were the ones that started the paranoia with Aurora. It was an interesting choice on his part, but I do agree with you. I would almost blame Chris more than Randy for this vote. I think Chris really started to push the I want Susie gone card. And then once he started pushing it, it wasn't too long before the rest of the guys and Lauren jumped on board.
Yeah. And then in this round, I'll just read through the notes a little bit. The women plan to split the next vote between Devins and Eric to flush Devin's idol. Devin's, of course, grabbing the merge public immunity idol. So the men agree to that plan. So the women are under the impression that the men are going to split the votes between Devins and Eric just to flush the idol. And I think that was the plan all that day. And then I think Chris caught wind of it and wanted to save Eric, of course. So he kind of pushes the vote onto Susie. And I think Randy also was a big proponent in telling them that Susie was a big threat. And also, Randy tells Devins not to play his public idol to try to keep him from playing it so that they could use it going forward. Also, Michelle finds a hidden immunity idol. This is also the round that Maddie, Chris, Eric, and Lauren, which is another power alliance, comes into play against Susie and the other women. Maddie wins the individual immunity. Devin plays his public immunity idol, and it ends up not mattering anyway, but Susie's voted off 6-3 to 2-1.
That was the weirdest vote count ever.
Yeah.
6-3 to 2-1.
Yeah, very odd. I think it speaks to, the women split their vote and the men took the opportunity to blindside Susie. Very disappointing because we all love Susie so much, but part of the game, I think. Not all the favorites can win,
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things about this was Chris leaving Charlie and Ron out of the vote, both people he had been kind of going back and forth with, trying to build trust at the merge, and then completely blindsided them with this vote to take out Susie. And I think that sets up kind of where the alliances for the next round started to form for the Devins vote.
It's going to create a huge shift in all the alliances, really. And I wasn't even sure. I know Ron and Charlie were talking to the women. We know Charlie's part of the MILF Alliance.
That's what I mean. Like, as he does that to himself, then Charlie's gets stronger, and his, that comparison right there, it just made me think of that, watching somebody take people from other, the other starting tribe and build that as he loses. Like, Charlie is so good because now he's got a lot of men on his side and then 3 women. Is that right? So
yes.
Yep.
We're going to see, it's going to be a recurring theme this season that there are these players within groups that are neglected, and it's almost like people force them into the other group by leaving them out of plans or not solidifying something with them. And it seems so obvious from us on the outside. It's probably not as obvious when you're in the trenches, but constantly we see this happen. We saw it happen pre-merge where Susie and Aurora picked up Randy and Devins. We see it post-merge where right off the bat they lose Maddie because they didn't invite him into that group chat. And then we see it again here where the men don't include Charlie and Ron, basically forcing them even closer to the women. And then we're going to see it again most recently because the women are not locking in with Ron tonight. And I think that's going to bite them in the butt pretty soon. So Susie ends up going home. Very sad.
Very, very sad. Very, very, very.
We love Susie. I think maybe one of our biggest stars and best finds we've had in a very long time. And I think the season has a couple of those, which is crazy. It just speaks to how good this cast is. But yes, so Susie's blindsided and goes home. The next round we have Jillian attacking Chris, which was hilarious. And really, I never thought I'd say this, but this is really when we start to love Jillian as a character. It kind of turns the corner from aggravation into entertainment. And really, she benefits the most from being on the right side of history here with aligning with Reem and Susie. And everything from here on out is just pure entertainment from Jillian. And we really see Jillian's stock begin to rise in this round, but more so leading into next round.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think everyone has accepted that there's not a chance in hell that she can win the game. But every round that we get to watch her just stumble her way to potentially the final 3 is just going to be hilarious to watch.
Look, I wish, I don't know why. I just have this feeling that Jillian's going to do better than everybody thinks, I guess.
Do you think she's going to win?
I don't know. I just
I think she could. I think she's likable enough to win. If she won, it would not be because of her stellar gameplay, though. I think it would be because she's likable to people.
Is she likable, though?
Which is
I
crazy.
feel like all of them talk in their confessionals about how she's fucking crazy.
Is it?
I think that they like her.
Is it?
I think she's
is it
likable.
irredeemable what she did?
What did she do? Oh, the cheating.
Yeah.
No, I think people have forgotten that and moved past it, to be honest.
I think we should talk about that at some point because I think it's the most fascinating subject, honestly. A little bit, if we can.
We'll talk about that in the next round when we get more into Jillian.
We get more. I missed this one. I just wanted that one so bad. All right, next time.
All right, so in this round, we have. I love this tidbit. Ron out of nowhere suggests booting Chris and then leaves for a Broadway show. Which is quintessential Ron, throwing out a random name that's like huge and would take a lot of effort, but he just like fucking throws it out there and bounces. But this is the big story, is that this is where the women had still up until this point trusted Randy because he did vote with them, I think, in that first, or I think he voted with them in that first tribal council. And they're certainly still friendly with him. But now they find out when Susie leaves that Randy definitely voted against them. Although he tries to lie, and this was hilarious. He tried to lie and say that he was one of the votes to keep Susie and that it was Ron who lied. Reem was pretty slick in this round. She asked him, so what was your voting confessional? And she did it in a way that was pretty genuine. It didn't seem like she was fishing to trip him up. But he ends up picking, he says, oh, I was the one. Yeah, I was the one with the snake confessional. And of course, that's Reem's fucking confessional. So she played it off so smooth. So she was like, that was amazing. I laughed so hard at that one, knowing full well, like that was mine, you fucking idiot. So
I would love to be in a position like that. That would be so fun to watch somebody trip over their own dick right in front of you. And you're just like, yes.
Well, why did he? It's so stupid.
Why would you bother? You'd say I was the one that they didn't read, right?
Right. Or just not even lying, just saying, oh, I threw my vote away or whatever. Like there were two random votes in that council.
You give them the option to say, you have that special thing at the end where you don't read all the votes. And that is like a blessing for some people. And yet this is why I don't think he's that good. Like this is part of it. Like that is such a rookie mistake.
Well, we've known for a while, Randy has been playing just to play. And he's said that. And I don't think it's necessarily bad that he does that, but it's catching up with him. So, in some cases it works out for him. And in other cases, I don't think it's worked out at all. Really, it's kind of like he's throwing darts at a board. And sometimes he'll get a bullseye and sometimes he won't. He won't even score anything. So, I don't think that strategy is necessarily bad. I just don't think it's a great one. There's not a whole lot of thought going into a lot of these moves with Randy. So we see the women finally get together, and this time they pull in. They plan to get rid of Ron, and the women are trying to get rid of. Well, at first they target Eric, but the women end up targeting Devins just by virtue of him not being around. Which, thank God.
Well, and Eric won immunity, didn't he?
Oh, that's right. You're right.
How does Ron keep getting saved each round? Like I feel like he just so much.
Well, he would have been gone this round if the women and Maddie didn't vote him out.
Right. So,
and that winds up being the big part of the Maddie vote.
Maddie, Chris, Eric, and Lauren, which was formed in the last round, and Randy all plot to take out Ron, and the women target Eric. But then we have Maddie pair his relationship with Michelle and Reem. I don't remember why, but he finds out that I think his name was thrown out there in the first round, and that's really a big part of why he flipped. And he finds out that was not a super serious plan. So he kind of repairs it with Reem and Michelle and decides to flip back. And of course they have had Charlie and Ron push closer to them. So when Eric wins immunity, the women decide to shift from voting out Eric to voting out Devins. And in a very close vote, the women finally pull it off, and Devins is voted out 6-5, blindsiding a lot of the men, and I think really shaking them to their core. The crazy thing is that does not last.
What I was going to say was that the thing that I found most shocking about that vote was, the men were sitting here thinking they had gotten Ron, and oh man, how great. But now Ron's there, and not one of them really tried to repair things with Ron. They were all just kind of like, oops. And I know Chris logged off right away, and that turned out to be like a huge deal because everybody tried to pin him as the flipper, the one who voted out Devins instead of Ron. And Maddie like jumped full-fledged into it, tried to get everyone to turn on Chris and vote Chris out next, which caused all of the drama the next day.
Right. And then, man, that day was so insane, too. We'll backtrack a little bit. Michelle finds a hidden immunity idol in the previous round. This round, Jillian finds a fucking hidden immunity idol. Very neck and neck with Charlie, too, who had just discovered it at the same time, but didn't actually post it. He just asked about it. So Jillian now has a hidden immunity idol, which is hilarious. And she's like, I was told it's like if you're familiar with the subreddit Old People Facebook, that's what this season's like, because we have Jillian posting like pictures she's taken of her screen of the immunity idol instead of like just screenshotting.
How old is this person?
We think late 40s, early 50s is our best guess.
But she applied as 30 plus.
Yes, I mean she could be early.
That's
she
so
could be
fun.
late 30s, early 40s. We don't know. But we do know she has 2 children that are not like babies, you know. I mean, I'm not going to dox her kids, but they're older than 6, you know, both of them. So, but that doesn't mean a whole lot. She could be very young. We don't know. Not technically savvy, though. I mean, look, I think more than anything, these last 2 rounds have solidified Jillian as a coach-esque.
The final 3 goat.
Yeah, a Coach Phillip-esque character, Nora-esque, where, you know, she's so fucking crazy and she's not playing Survivor, but super entertaining and started out annoying, but is kind of lovable towards the end of the game. If anything, we love watching it because it's hilarious. But I really do think, you know, we know she's actually a sweetheart. She's just annoying and crazy, but that's okay. She'll fit in well with our group. So I was happy for her that she did find an idol. She really cares about the game. And she cares about a lot of the people in the game, which I think is endearing. And I think what ends up helping her in the end. On a side note, I can't wait to see how that idol pans out with her because she's so crazy.
I mean, if she plays that right, then imagine her, you know, her stock goes up so high.
Jillian, front runner for the season.
Honestly.
This is the best thing she did. And normally I wouldn't say this, but Michelle and Jillian both did this. They both told Reem, and Reem is dangerous. So that could actually benefit them tremendously, except as Reem said in her confessional, she wants to blindside both of them with their own idols. So I don't know that it was the best move telling Reem.
No. What a bitch.
You fucking gotta love Reem. I love that like preseason, you know, we were talking about her story and it was like, oh, you know, sympathetic.
We
favorite.
really want her to do well. Like, she's going to be great. We'll love watching her. We do, but she's just like the complete opposite person that you expected.
Well, for Stranded, she's a sweetheart, but in any other realm or universe, she's like a supervillain. So, but we love that so much that we appreciate that tremendously. But yeah, Reem's fucking crazy. I love her so much. She's hilarious and really ballsy. Like
you said that Susie's one of our best casting choices in a long time. I agree. I think Susie, from like a sentimental, like having, you know, an older woman who actually plays and is like fun to watch and is good at the game, I think that's great. Reem, I would argue, is the most fascinating person to watch since I've been involved with Stranded. She's just straight fire all the time.
Oh, I mean, you know, a lot of people when they apply say they're like Tony or Russell Hantz or Parvati. She is that. She exudes confidence that is unbelievable. Like, it's so hard to. I mean, it's like you guys played with Brooke.
Oh my God.
Tiffany in the last season. It's a lot like that. I mean, and this is her first game. It's crazy. She's like, she'll throw out a vote. She'll bully people into voting her way. She'll make a million alliances. She doesn't give a fuck. She'll cut anybody, you know? She'll cut Michelle, Jillian, Susie, whoever. And it's really crazy, but it's super effective too. I mean, really, she's good at it. And we said this pre-merge, you know, in a normal situation, this would get you caught up and voted off early merge. And really, she was about to be. But I think through her own ballsiness, bullying, I don't know what you'd call it, she pushed through that vote and has lasted now until final 9. But I mean, it's hard to imagine her getting past final 5, but shit, man, she might. She's crazy. She really, if anyone could do it, it's her. And she could totally be sitting in the final 3 with a very pissed off jury. Like that could happen.
We don't want to speak that into existence.
I'd vote for her.
I think it could happen. I think it's more likely than not, to be honest with you. It would be hard. It seems impossible for her to get to the final three, but I don't know. She's pretty good. She stays ahead of the game, which is so important. It's important if you're this strategic, powerful player. It's important to make the moves ahead of someone else, and that's what she's doing very well.
Yeah, I just want to go back a little because I did want to kind of like talk about the kind of eulogize that because I think what I was most like I don't think being older is necessarily bad or you're going to be. But I think that there's a distinctive difference in the way people talk, talking on the computer too. I mean, it depends how much time you spend on whatever. So that might vary, but like, she just is like, if you probably ask anybody in the game, I bet you'd say like, they would not realize that she was in her mid 50s.
Right.
And I think she could talk to anybody. And I think that's the most fascinating part about it.
Well, we talked a lot about a gender divide this season. It's been a recurring theme and the main part of the season. But what we haven't talked about a whole lot is that really the tribes were divided by age as well, because a majority of the women were over 27 with like, I think Reem's 34, Susie's 55. A lot of the women are older. So I think that is playing into why they're doing so well and why they're so fucking entertaining. I mean, really, Michelle, you can tell the difference between even Lauren, who I think is good, is only 20, whereas Michelle and Reem, there's that confidence that comes with them being 27, 34, I think, at least 30 for Reem. There's a certain confidence that comes with that you don't get when you're younger. And that is certainly coming into play in a big way this season. So I think that's really interesting to play into. And I think, Straned always skews older, but really this season, I think the average age was like 28. I mean, it was really, and most of that's because of the women's tribe. Not many of the men.
Yeah, way older than usual.
Yeah, I mean,
the oldest guy.
The oldest guy, I think, was only, I think we had someone who was 33, but that might have been like Marcus or something. But even like Crystal was 37. Most of the men were 24 and under, like a majority of them being 18, 19, 20, 21. And I think only like 3 or 4 being over 25. So there's been a big age divide this season with the men and the women. And I think that's why the women on average have been so aggressive and entertaining and powerful in the season. I can't describe any of the men as powerful this season, with the exception of maybe Maddie, but he's more chaotic than I would say powerful. But even like, Susie was pretty confident. And I think there's a confidence, and also a lot of them are also parents. So, when you get older, you're in a position of power in your job, in your life. Either you're controlling a child or you're controlling employees or people who are underneath you in your position. So there is a sense of control that comes along with age. And I think that plays into Survivor, in this case, Stranded.
I guess what the thing is like, when I started, I wasn't that young, 26. Now I'm almost 30. And it's just like, I just don't care what people think when I say things to them in games. And, like, I just don't. Like, if you're just like so constantly, I think you're worried about so many things, what production wants from you too, I think, which is affecting a lot of the guys being crazy. Or what, if you're going to say something like to kind of find out what's going on for yourself, just trusting what people are saying to you, you just say something, you ask somebody something. And that just came with time of not caring.
I would say I've always been a really mature kid. Like, even when I was 15, people thought I was 30, and even still I'm 30, but my best friend's 47, so I've always been more mature than my age. However, there's still a difference from when I was 18 to where I am now. I was much more emotional, that's for sure. Whereas now I'm still kind of crazy, but I certainly have my anger in check. I'm certainly more confident than I was. So I think that
you also just understand your own personality more, and you're able to, like, when you are angry, when you do play into the bigger parts of your personality, you understand how it comes off. You understand how other people react, and you're going to have a better way of handling it. I think that that's the bigger thing. It's not that you feel the emotion any differently. It's not that you're, less emotional or less spastic than you were as an 18-year-old. It's just you understand how you come off. You understand what other people want from you after the big parts of your personality come out.
Right. And I think, we're getting way off track, but, basically I think there's a lot
Next week, full personality analysis of Poody.
Yeah. There's a lot of humbling that comes along in your 20s where people above you in positions will kind of kick you and you kind of learn your place of like, you're not really that big of a deal. Nobody cares about you. So, I think a lot of that comes into play here where we see the older players not necessarily needing the spotlight. They like to control things and they do it in a very subtle way. Whereas players like Maddie or Randy are not subtle at all, and I think that that's costing them.
I think that's frustrating to watch sometimes. I think everybody here, I like it too, but I don't know. I guess I'm just frustrated about Susie going because of that move specifically, but I feel like I hate when somebody goes for just rash decisions, I think.
I know. And we love, and like you said, Reem's a rare find, but so is Susie in that. First of all, it's hard to find people that are really likable in online games. And I don't mean most people are likable, but I mean like really likable, like a Jordan from Isolated or Donathan, super likable, even Charlie, you could say. But even more than that, like above and beyond likable, I would say Jordan and Susie are in that class where you're just gravitated towards them, and we root for her. We root for her because it's rare.
Of the people, like when somebody does something like post something on on Reddit to figure out an answer to something, it's like totally adorable. Like,
right? Oh, that's true. Yeah, no. I think the bigger thing is that it's rare to find someone in their 50s to play an online game, let alone a woman in their 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so unique. It's a new experience, and we didn't expect much from her. It would have just been nice to have her show up and be social. But she went above and beyond expectations, and I think that added to it in a whole new way. It was something completely different than what we've had. And to the level of like a Michelle from Isolated or Jackie from Australian Straned, like what y'all played with. And it was that kind of experience, So getting into this last round, the round starts and we have everyone seemingly splitting between Chris and Eric until Reem and Michelle compare notes on Maddie. And Maddie really gets caught up. But we do get the hilarious moment of Reem and Michelle creating a million group chat names that were all like Maddie's surprise secret group, Maddie's secret friend group number 3, Maddie's alliance number 2, really kind of goading him. And then we see Maddie just lose his shit. He doesn't know who's starting him. He really thinks it's the men. And then we see like both sides unanimously come together, which is so bizarre in this season, to get rid of Maddie. But I also think that speaks to how bad of a move it was for the women to do that. I think if the entire opposite alliance that you're working against agrees to vote for who you're voting for, that should be a red flag for you. That should be like, you know what, that's probably not the best move for me if they are all on board with it,
I think, there was a whole discussion about are unanimous votes stupid for a specific group of people. I mean, right?
Well, they have to be. I mean, by virtue of them being unanimous, somebody...
you could say that, but you've said that a lot of stuff this cast would be rigid. Well, not that you said it, you thought it would be, a blowout of just men going down. With this spontaneous cast, I don't think there's anything that would suggest that any sort of group of people will necessarily last anyway. And the reason it would be bad to be unanimous is that one group of people knew exactly what they're doing, right?
Right. No, you're right.
But that's the difference with this particular season, is that I don't really think any particular group really does know what they're doing.
No, you're right about that. But here's what I think. I think you're right, because I don't think it's not like this group is going to now steamroll. I don't think that'll happen. But I think for this next vote, it was a bad move, because I think now I would put money on one of the women going this next vote, either Michelle, Reem, or Jillian, and maybe they'll play an idol, but I don't think that they're going to know it's coming. And I think that they really left themselves vulnerable by getting rid of Maddie, who was going to vote with them. And I think that they opened the doors for that other alliance to come back together again by excluding Ron, picking up the women's pieces, which we've seen before in this season. And I think it's going to hurt them badly in this particular round. Now, I think, again, what will happen is that alliance will exclude someone. And it's going to keep going in perpetuity, where they just trade off fringe players from both alliances, flipping back and forth all season, which is fantastic to watch, but not the best gameplay from either side.
Is it set for today?
I haven't been watching super closely. I've been super busy today, but I do know, I just read confessionals, and Ron has already said he's thinking about voting with the men because none of the women have offered him a final 2 or final 3, which is a big note. I can't believe Reem hasn't done that. She's done it to everyone else. I'm not sure why she wouldn't do it with Ron. So I think that not locking it in with Ron is going to cost him to flip. And I think that alliance of Chris, Eric, and Lauren will welcome Ron with open arms, and Randy to vote off Reem or Michelle or Jillian. I think they're going to go for Jillian, but we'll see.
Oh my God. I just hope, and I hope that she's just like, crazy enough to just be like, I'm playing this now.
Well, it's going to depend on how much they trust Ron, and if they can get a whiff, maybe Charlie clues them in, or, they'll
all tell Charlie, right?
I don't think they're going to tell Charlie, but we'll see. And then that's going to push Charlie closer to the women.
How many women are left?
3.
3?
Well, Lauren as well, but she's with the men. So,
God, why? Sorry,
we did not touch on this. I'm glad you said it. So since the merge, the same thing happened as with everything this season. They alienated someone, and now that person is pushed into the arms of the other people. So Lauren went straight over to the men, and she's been playing with the men since the merge. She broke up with Michelle, their close friendship. So
confusing because they were so after Reem for a while, but then Reem and Michelle. Yeah,
Reem pulled in Michelle. So that's really pushed Lauren away. And now they don't trust Lauren at all because they've just lied to each other too many times. I don't see that ever being repaired, to be honest.
Or any of the women. So I guess it's not wise of them to target Lauren because it wouldn't work.
No, I don't think that they're targeting Lauren. I think, their biggest targets are Chris and Eric, as it should be. I think honestly, it's probably in Lauren's best interest at this stage to just work with Chris and Eric, because at this point, the damage has been done. I don't think she's ever going to get Michelle or Reem's trust back. And probably her path to the end relies on the women being so...
It sounds like she's not winning then.
She won't. And I think she screwed up by flipping on the women so early and so aggressively. Like, she's basically drawn the line in the sand. They all know she's working with the men. And at this point, she might as well be Chris or Eric. And I think even if she sat in the end with Chris and Eric, I think that the women would not respect her flipping on them so much that she would not win.
Yeah, I mean, I hope not. That was lame.
Yeah. I know.
If you're that's totally alienating your original tribe, and your plan there is to vote out all these people, and then they're going to vote.
and it's super unnecessary. I think it speaks to her age. Even if you thought, oh well, Michelle's with Reem now, and I can't trust her, wouldn't you still pretend to be close to her to keep her at least as an option?
Yeah.
But no, I think she's cut all ties with the women. At this point, she's hardcore in that men's alliance, and I think that's gonna. I can't see her winning with that
unless something drastic happens.
Well, I mean, you can never say never. She could be sitting in the end with Chris and Eric, and the women are so fed up with the chauvinism, and they're so pro women that they want her to win. I mean, you never know. Yeah.
Who knows?
We'll know if it was dumb at the end of the day. If she ends up winning, it won't be so stupid then. But,
I guess not.
From here, it seems like a bad move, but we'll see at the end. So I guess let's just end it on our predictions for the very end. I mean, the obvious thing that would happen in most seasons is probably the least likely people to win would get to the end. So that would be Chris, Eric, and Charlie as a final 3. That would be me as a host for 35 seasons, knowing that's usually what happens. But This is a very unique season. So I could see someone like a Reem or a Michelle sneaking into that final 3 just by virtue of being a wild card. And that will make the finals very interesting. I think if it's Chris, Eric, and Charlie's winning hands down. But if it's a Reem in there with Charlie and like a Jillian, that's going to be very up in the air. I don't know if Reem would win hands down. I think it'd be close.
Well, I'm hopeful that everything flips like it always does.
Yeah, I think that's probably a better bet than assuming it'll go straight down the line. But either way, this has been so fun to watch this season. Like really, really good. Like Stranded at its best. And I think it's telling that it happened right after our Australian Stranded legendary season.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, this is a new group for Stranded, a new era of Stranded. I really feel like, it's cheesy, but I've been building this for so long now. I was considering ending it at 30. And then after 30, I involved my wife and really since then started building this community. And the community has turned into something I'd never dreamed it would be, because I was used to the old days where we didn't dox and, you kind of just... Your personal life and your online life were completely separate, hard line, nobody knows my name. And that has really blurred lately. And I think for the better, because I've gotten to know a lot of people very closely online, and it's been very rewarding. I feel just like I tell people in Stranded, the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's been the case with the community for me. It's not to say it's been easy, but I really am proud of what we've done so far. I think each season it's gotten stronger, the community as a whole, and I think we've learned and grown as a community. And I'm really looking forward to having so many of these awesome new people join and change things, which will be different, but eventually it'll be a great thing, I think.
I think that was very sweet, Poody, and a good thing to end on.
Yeah. And you've been with me since before all this, before we doxed, before we had anything Discord or anything like that. So the journey is crazy between when you first played and now. It's just like night and day.
Like sending private messages like we were.
Yeah, even the gameplay is super intense. The relationships in the game are crazier. The relationships outside of the game are crazier. We're podcasting now. We're voice chatting. Like that never happened 5 years ago. So this is just wild. And the growth has been great. So I really look forward to being joined by all these great new players, both young and old. I'm super excited to diversify a little bit. And I think Stranded's looking up. I think I can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Either. Thank you for letting me host this one. Even though it's been trying my best. It's a very busy life.
No, I know. Look, I totally, all this week I was insane with work, but I got to make time for Stranded. What am I working for if I'm not living, No, but I think I'm excited for this season to finish. I'm excited to see what happens. So I think that'll about end us. We're about at an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Do you have any final thoughts you want to say?
No, that was a good wrap up.
All right. So that has been the game up until this point. We're at Final 9. Looking forward to seeing what happens in the last few days. I'm sure we'll talk again soon, but for now, this is Poody signing out.